You're standing at a supermarket counter under flat white light, looking down at a bed of crushed ice that's slowly sweating. There's a tuna steak, dark red, cut clean as a beetroot, a salmon fillet beside it. Further along, a slab of swordfish the color of wet chalk. You pick one up, you take it home, you cook it for 8 minutes, and you eat it without thinking about it once. Now put a wolf on that ice, or a lynx, or a golden eagle, portioned and priced by the kilo. You can't, and it isn't squeamishness exactly. It's that you have never seen it in any shop, in any country you've ever been to. Meanwhile, the tuna in front of you hunts other hunters. The swordfish next to it kills for a living. You eat the ocean's apex predators without a flicker of hesitation, and you have gone your entire life without eating a land one. So why the split? The answer isn't the one you're about to guess, and it's stranger than the question. Here I have to tell you, the title of this video is slightly misleading, and that's deliberate, because the wrong version of the question is the one that gets you to the right answer. We do eat land predators. Crocodile and alligator are farmed commercially, at scale, in Louisiana and Australia and Thailand. Snake is eaten, bear is eaten. And your chicken is not a vegetarian. Leave one alone in a garden and watch what it does to a worm. And going the other way, most seafood on Earth isn't apex anything. Global aquaculture is dominated by carp and tilapia, animals that eat algae and scraps, and by mussels and oysters, which sit one single step above pond scum. So the dividing line isn't ocean and land. The real question is this: why is the top of the food chain affordable in water and financially catastrophic on land? The first layer is a tax, and every living thing pays it. When one animal eats another, most of that meal is spent, burned on movement, on heat, on staying alive, and only a small fraction becomes new body. In 1942, a young American ecologist called Raymond Lindemann put a rough number on it. Somewhere around 10% of the energy at one level makes it to the level above, with real ecosystems ranging maybe 5 to 20, which means a kilogram of wolf costs roughly 10 kilograms of deer, which cost roughly 100 kilograms of plants. Predators aren't rare because they're shy. They're rare because they're expensive, and you, incidentally, are cheap. When researchers calculated humanity's average position in the global food web, we came out at about 2.2, the same rung as an anchovy or a pig. You are not the apex of anything, but the tuna on that ice sits near 4.5. So how does the ocean pay a bill the land can't? Which brings the second layer. The ocean's forest is invisible. On land, the base of the pyramid is enormous and slow. A tree locks carbon into wood for decades. At sea, the base is single cells drifting in the top 100 meters, and there is almost nothing of it. Marine plant life is on the order of 1% of the planet's photosynthetic biomass, yet it performs roughly half of all photosynthesis on Earth, because it doesn't store. It spins. A phytoplankton population can be eaten and completely replaced in a matter of days, over and over, all year. That's a tiny standing crop with a colossal throughput, and it's why marine food chains routinely run 5 links deep, where land chains usually stall at 3 or 4. So the ocean can afford to build monsters. But that explains why they exist. It doesn't explain why they're 12 pounds a kilo. The third layer is the one that actually answers the title, and it has nothing to do with water. It's warm blood. A mammal or a bird burns far more energy than a cold-blooded animal of the same size just sitting still. The standard comparison is on the order of 10 times, and every calorie of that buys you nothing except body heat. Then add gravity. A land animal spends its life carrying a skeleton, while a fish hangs weightless. Put those together, and you get the numbers that run the food industry. Roughly, measured as feed against live weight, a farm salmon turns a little over 1 kilogram of feed into a kilogram of fish. A chicken needs under 2, a pig around 3. Cattle, 6 or more, depending on how you count it. The salmon is a carnivore, and it is still the most efficient large animal we farm, which should be impossible until you realize it never pays for heat and never pays for standing up. And here's the proof that this is the real axis. The land predators we do farm at scale are crocodiles and alligators, cold-blooded. Sitting still in warm water, converting feed at rates a wolf could never touch. So it was never ocean versus land. It was warm versus cold. But wild predators are free. Nobody has to farm a wolf. So why aren't they on the ice? Which is the fourth layer, and it's the bleak one. Out of roughly 150 large land mammals that looked like plausible domestication candidates, only about 14 were ever successfully domesticated, and not one of them is a carnivore, because to farm a meat eater, you first have to farm everything it eats. So predators were never livestock, they were competition. We killed them for safety, for skins, for the animals they took from us, and we were extraordinarily good at it. Today, farmed livestock outweigh every wild land mammal on Earth by more than a factor of 10. There is no wolf harvest because there are barely any wolves. And there's a final cost stacked on top. Mercury climbs food chains, concentrating at every step, which is exactly why health advisories name swordfish, shark, and king mackerel and never name sardines. So here's the flip. You look at that tuna steak and read it as a trophy, proof that we mastered the sea and pulled its lion out of it. It's the opposite. Everything else in that shop is the output of a 10,000-year engineering project. The chicken, the pig, the cow, the wheat in the bread, all of it redesigned, bred, scheduled, controlled. The tuna is the one thing on the counter that we never learned to make. Eating ocean predators isn't a sign of dominance. It's the last hunter-gatherer meal on Earth sold at industrial scale, and the only reason it's on ice is that our technology of control stops at the waterline and run that logic through the animals themselves. The wolf kept its freedom and is down to a few 100,000. The chicken surrendered completely, and there are more than 20 billion of them alive right now. Being edible and farmable turned out to be the single best evolutionary deal ever offered. The predators didn't win by staying wild, they lost. None of which means your dinner is a hazard. Mercury is real, but it's bounded. Your body clears it steadily over a timescale of months. The advisories concern a short list of high-chain species, and the overwhelming majority of seafood eaten worldwide sits low on the food web. And the gap is closing. Norwegian salmon feed was around 90% marine ingredients in 1990. By 2013, it was closer to 30. We took a carnivore and quietly turned it into something that mostly eats plants. Bluefin tuna have now been bred through their entire life cycle in captivity. The last wild food is being domesticated in front of us. So let's put the whole thing back together. Energy leaks at every step of a food chain, so predators cost roughly 10 times what their prey costs, which makes them rare everywhere. Except that the ocean's producers are microscopic and replace themselves in days rather than decades. So the sea can fund 5 links where the land funds 3, which builds big predators cheaply. And those predators are cold-blooded and weightless, paying nothing for heat and nothing for standing up. So a farmed carnivorous fish beats a chicken on feed efficiency, while on land, every warm-blooded predator failed that same arithmetic so completely that we never domesticated a single one, and instead spent 10,000 years removing them as competitors until there was nothing left to eat even if we wanted to. Which leaves exactly one place on Earth where hunting a top predator still makes economic sense, and it's the counter you're standing at. Look at the ice again. The salmon was farmed, the prawns were farmed, the bread, the butter, the salad, all of it designed. And the tuna sits there, dark red and cut clean, the only thing in the whole shop that nobody made. The last animal we still take the old way because we never worked out how to do anything else. Raymond Lindemann died at 27, in the year his 10% finally appeared in print. He never saw a supermarket like this one. But that counter is his pyramid, tipped over and laid flat on the ice, with the expensive end facing you and the price tag still attached. The next time you stand at that counter and look down at the ice, you'll know you're looking at the last wild meal in the building. If this changed how you see a fish counter, hit subscribe. This channel takes ordinary things and shows you the machinery running underneath them. And tell me in the comments, what's the strangest animal you've ever eaten? 10 words, no explanations, no excuses. Best answer wins. Stay curious, stay hungry. I'll see you in the next one.